So all right. So our next movie review of the day is going to be for Killers of the Flower Moon. I saw this movie, Dust did not. This is the new Martin Scorsese movie, highly anticipated. It's always highly anticipated when
Oh
Martin
yeah.
Scorsese does anything. And this is his 10th film. And this is about the Oklahoma murders that occurred in the 1920s. The murders here of the Osage Nation, Native American people. As you see in the film here, the Native American people, because they had all this land, they had also had oil on that land, and they
Mhm.
become, for lack of a better word, filthy fucking rich. And they became one of the richest people in the nation because the land that they had all this oil in it. And then when they had all this oil, brings a lot of envy and all these riches. And then what brought, bringing all this envy brought a lot of dangerous things here, and that included the murders of all these people here. That was kind of a coordinated effort to kill these Native American people, take their land, take their oil, and then their money. And it kind of led to this huge investigation here, all the way up until like the bureau at the time, not the Federal Bureau of Investigations, but just the Bureau of Investigations,
Yeah.
came down to investigate these murders. Um, and in this film here, you of course have the typical Martin Scorsese players, Leonardo DiCaprio, Rob De Niro, and it makes me think: how many times have Martin Scorsese brought his two boyfriends together for a movie? Uh,
So for Leo, I think this is their sixth film together.
mhm,
So with Leo specific for De Niro, it's his 10th. Uh, with DiCaprio, it's his sixth.
okay, but I mean, like when it's De Niro and DiCaprio in a movie together.
Oh, De Niro and DiCaprio. Maybe I think second.
Second? Yeah, because 'cause I'm trying to think I was trying to think what was the other movie, but I can't right now. So yeah, you're gonna have his usual players here, and then, one of the people really, being the voice of the Osage people, the Native Americans, and one of the main players you see here is a woman named, Molly, Burkhart, who's eventually is gonna become the wife of Leonardo DiCaprio's character. She's played by Lily Gladstone, who I heard before this movie's come out, a lot of really great. I think she's going to get a lot of good awards attention. I heard about
Mhm.
that before this movie, and I can definitely see it. She's fantastic in this movie. Um, and the thing about this movie also that was much talked about is it's 3.5 hours. And is it worth seeing? You know what I mean? Being the length of this movie. And I talked about this when Bo is Afraid, and I talked about this with Babylon and other 3-hour movies.
Yeah.
It's not about necessarily the length at times; it's about how you use that time and what you have to say in that time. And I think with this movie, talking about such a serious, because this is a very serious, dark subject here in Killer the Flower Moon. I mean, you will see countless of these Native people being killed, and this plot to basically just take them down. And it will, I think, infuriate you to a degree, to see all this kind of happening and to see if if justice is going to be done. And I think maybe you could have trimmed it down. I mean, being 3.5 hours is always maybe something you could have maybe cut down on a little bit, but I think it utilizes that time well. I don't think it ever feels like a slog to get through. I think that the pace is pretty good on it. So I think that's kind of the difference there. Of when I was watching something like Babylon, or when I was watching something like Bo is Afraid, of like I think you're just kind of saying the same thing over and over again here. And I think that with Killer Clown Moon, I think it has much more to say here, than those films. And this is also based on a book too.
Yeah.
And in the book, it was much more from the FBI's perspective, of things, and I think Martin Scorsese kind of reworked that and kind of shifted it more to the criminal perspective here, because of course that's what he always does best, with a lot of things, a lot of his movies. And this is kind of a almost gangster, kind of Western crime film that you have here, that he is so expertly, that's he's such an expert at. I wish though it did have more of a perspective from maybe Lily Gladstone taking more of the lead. I think you see more of Leonardo DiCaprio, who plays the nephew of Robert De Niro's character William Hale, who Robert De Niro is playing. I mean, this is probably the best villain performance all year, probably. I mean,
Mhm.
it's probably what's going to be. I mean, what he does in this movie, because he's the person here as like he's the real mastermind behind everything. And it's even more sinister because he's trying to put on this face of being, friends with the Osage people. It's like I'm your, he's making all these close connections with these people, speaking their language, getting into, their lives, having his sons marry the women of the Osage Nation. And I think that a lot of that stuff is just it's just so sinister, so evil. I think
Oh
a lot
yeah.
of that when you kind of have that going on. I think he does a great job at that. Um, and Leonardo DiCaprio, it's just like with this movie, especially directed by Martin Scorsese, and then like I said, so many good performances in here from like Robert De Niro and Lily Gladstone and Leonardo DiCaprio. I think this movie, its competition is the other great things that Martin Scorsese, Robert De Niro, and Leonardo DiCaprio have done in their careers. I think that's the thing. It's like Leonardo DiCaprio, who is good in this movie, and he's playing somebody who's a complete dope in this. It's like, with his accent, I just constantly kept thinking of, like, his character from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and just, like, his
Yeah.
facial expressions in there. It just kinda so much reminded me of there, and not say he's bad here, it's just kinda like that just so much reminded me of that. And I Yeah, so I think that's kind of a thing issue here, and then with, of course, Martin Scorsese with his amazing direction of, like, you can go on and on talking about, what is the best Martin Scorsese movie, and what's your best kind of performance from Robert De Niro in one of those things. So, I think that's always I mean, that's a good problem to have if you're Martin Scorsese. It's like, hey, what movie do you love more than the one that he's done? Um, and when it gets into the criminal element and all those things, I think it is really interesting, and a great piece of history too that makes it very good. It's something people should know about. Um, like I said, I think some of the weak points here is the whole kind of I think Lily Gladstone gets a little bit of a backseat here, compared to Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro. Even though she's not completely, I don't think forgot about. I think she does, have a very big voice in here as well. I just wish it was bigger, because she does go to Washington, and she does talk to the president and say, hey, like, people are dying. What are you going to do about it? Bring somebody down here to help. So she does have moments like that in the movie. So they give a little bit. But it's just constantly. It's like one of those movies you're just screaming at the screen, like it's these fucking people. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it's kind of just one of those type of movies. It is just like, man, it just kind of depresses the hell out of you. But yeah, I mean, Martin Scorsese, I mean, mostly for me, never really disappoints. I really didn't like The Irishman all that much. It wasn't terrible, but I wasn't too bad. And that was another 3-hour movie too, The Irishman, which was on Netflix. And I was kind of just meh on it myself.
Mhm.
How did you feel about that?
I mean, I felt while a lot of the performances in The Irishman were great, I did feel its length quite a bit at times, where you could have shortened some stuff here, moved some scenes here, really condensed it, and had I think a
Mm,
better condensed story with the characters that you already had. But yeah, I think it falls into one of those problems. Like when you have a 3 hour runtime, you really got to earn that, and every
mm,
scene has to matter, and I should not have to feel that length. And there are certain and certain pacing issues that here and there it felt a little bloated,
mm,
but
yeah.
you could tell that Martin Scorsese was very passionate about that movie, and everybody was really passionate about doing these roles, and so you kind of forgave it for its effort, but uh, yeah, that's kind of how I felt about that, where it could have lost some time and been a more condensed story. Still would have been like 2 hours and 2.5 hours, and it still would have been fine. You'd be like, all right, that's fine.
Yeah. I wonder if you'll feel the same thing about this when you see it. So yeah,
Maybe.
yeah. So yeah, I said there's a lot to love about this movie. It will come from a historical perspective here. Because I didn't really know about the Osage murders here. It's called like the Reign of Terror. It happened from 1918 to 1931. That happened of all these bodies that started to just pile up there.
Hmm.
And just like I said, the evil things that kind of happen in the situation of like you have these people who would marry, these women, then kill them, then they would have even children with them, and then just possibly just do away with the children. They just get access to all this money and land, and you see it this movie. Like at one point, Native Americans had white chauffeurs and maids and workers and butlers and everything like that, and it's wow, that was really something. So
Hmm.
yeah, I would give this a strong tune in for me. Yeah, yeah.